The world of professional sports is not built on friendship or loyalty. It operates more like a ruthless marketplace where results and financial impact decide everything. In that environment, every athlete is ultimately judged by a single measure, their market value. Either you are the force that drives attention, revenue, and growth, or you are someone benefiting from the momentum created by others. For roughly 25 years, the WNBA survived while operating at a financial loss. The league reportedly depended heavily on support connected to the NBA to keep functioning. Yet within that system, some longtime players began to see themselves as global superstars with significant bargaining power when a new figure suddenly brought massive attention to the league: Caitlin Clark, whose rival triggered record-breaking viewership and enormous public interest. The response from parts of the established player base wasn't always appreciation. Instead, tensions inside the league grew as discussions about power, recognition, and money intensified. What we're watching now goes far beyond a normal labor negotiation. The WNBA Players Association has been pushing hard in talks about the future collective bargaining agreement, raising demands that reportedly include higher maximum salaries, expanded benefits such as housing assistance, and a much larger share of league revenue. The possibility of a work stoppage in 2026 has even been mentioned as leverage. From the union's perspective, the argument is that the league's recent growth should translate into significantly better compensation for players. From ownership's perspective, the economics are more complicated. At the same time, some veteran voices in the league have suggested that the surge in popularity surrounding women's isn't about just one player. They argue that the league itself and the players' union deserve credit for building the foundation over many years. But the situation shifted dramatically when Clark's presence began driving unprecedented attention to the sport. Record TV audiences, sold-out arenas, and major sponsorship deals followed her arrival recently. Another important development added a new dimension to the conversation. Caitlin Clark joined the Team USA training environment, stepping into an international stage separate from the internal conflicts surrounding the WNBA negotiations. That move, intentional or not, sent a powerful message about where the center of attention currently sits in women's basketball.
They're kind of doing some drills here. Let's see them cook up for a little bit. Chelsea, no look. Caitlin, side dribble. Main thing is they're enjoying themselves, man. I love it. Okay, Angel to Stu, easy work. It seems like Caitlin is hanging with Kelsey a lot. Paige always yelling. Paige yelling about anything these days.
Inside that gym, the atmosphere looks completely different from the tense public debate surrounding the league. You see players laughing, competing, and calling out USA on three. The energy feels light, competitive, and focused purely on basketball. Caitlin Clark, Breanna Stewart, and several other stars appear to be enjoying the moment, playing at the highest level while representing their country. When you compare that scene with the tone surrounding the current labor dispute, the contrast becomes obvious. Negotiations between the union and league leadership have been intense, with public statements, leaks to reporters, and ongoing debates about transparency and fairness. The union leadership has tried to frame the issue around players fighting for their share of a rapidly growing business. While critics say the rhetoric sometimes creates unnecessary hostility, Clark's presence with Team USA introduces a different image. Instead of arguments about contracts or revenue splits, the focus shifts back to performance, teamwork, and global competition. Sponsors, networks, and league executives are watching closely because moments like this highlight which athletes currently capture the public's attention the most. Some union leaders believed Clark's popularity could strengthen their bargaining position by increasing pressure on ownership during negotiations. But her ability to shine outside the WNBA environment complicates that strategy. By simply participating in international basketball and staying out of the public disputes, she demonstrates that her personal brand and audience extend far beyond one league. To understand why this matters financially, it helps to look at market demand. In business negotiations, leverage often depends on whether each side has alternatives. If one side can easily walk away to other opportunities, their negotiating position becomes much stronger. A recent example often discussed by analysts is the creation of the unrivaled 3-on-3 league. The concept aimed to showcase top talent in a new format and prove that women's basketball could generate strong television audiences in multiple environments. Early expectations were high, especially with major broadcast partners involved, but the ratings did not meet those expectations. and the project faced criticism regarding injuries and financial sustainability. For many observers, that situation reinforced the idea that certain players drive far more attention than others. When a major star isn't part of the product, the audience response can change dramatically. And that leads back to the central question dominating the current negotiations. Who actually holds the most leverage in the business of women's basketball? On the other end of the spectrum, moments involving Clark often generate huge engagement almost instantly.
Mind you, look at the teams while y'all looking too. Look, Angel knocking them down, dog. I know it's quick. Caitlin with the game winner. Caitlin with the game winner, dog. Got the stun on him. Come on, man.
When plays like that happen, a dramatic shot, a game-winning moment, the clip spreads across social media and sports networks within minutes. Those highlights become part of the reason television deals, sponsorship contracts, and marketing campaigns are built around certain athletes. To team owners and network executives, moments like that represent more than just basketball highlights. They represent audience attention and commercial value. League leadership and ownership groups are constantly analyzing those numbers. If a star consistently produces viral moments and draws viewers, that athlete becomes a central piece of the league's overall business strategy. This is why the possibility of a strike creates such a complicated scenario. If a work stoppage happened, many players across the league would lose salaries and playing opportunities during that period. At the same time, athletes with global visibility might still have access to international tournaments, endorsements, and other platforms. Clark's participation in international competitions like FIBA qualifiers adds another layer. Those games reach audiences worldwide and are broadcast through major sports networks. If the WNBA schedule were disrupted, players with strong global followings could continue building their brand in those settings. For union leadership, this creates a strategic challenge. A strike is meant to pressure ownership into making concessions, but it also carries risks for players who rely on league salaries. Some agents and players reportedly prefer reaching a deal rather than risking a prolonged shutdown. Which brings us to a deeper issue that many commentators believe is influencing the situation. Behind the economic arguments, there may also be generational tension within the league. Veteran players spent years building the WNBA through difficult seasons and limited financial resources. When a rookie suddenly arrives and attracts massive attention, it can reshape the power structure almost overnight. Clark's rise from college star at Iowa to professional phenomenon changed the media landscape of women's basketball. She broke viewership records, attracted new fans who had never followed the league before, and secured major endorsement deals with companies like Nike and Gatorade. Those developments elevated her profile to a level rarely seen in the sport before. For some longtime players, that shift may feel unsettling. They invested decades growing the league's credibility, only to see the spotlight move quickly to a younger generation. Others embraced the change, seeing it as proof that the sport is finally reaching a broader audience. One concern occasionally raised by critics is that a strike could slow the momentum surrounding Clark's career during her prime years. If the league paused operations, it might temporarily reduce the exposure that comes from regular WNBA competition. However, Clark's public approach has been notably calm and respectful throughout the debate. Rather than responding directly to criticism or engaging in online arguments, she has largely kept the focus on basketball and team goals.
Man, I think, this is every kid's dream. I think I wrote it down when I was in like 3rd grade. So I'm just excited about this opportunity. And I remember Kara Callan talking to us like when me and Paige, and I know AB isn't here, but even I played with Ryan on the U19 team. Like on the junior national teams, there's only going to be like a couple of you that end up making it to make a senior debut. So whether that's the World Cup, whether the World Cup qualifier, whether that's, the Olympics, every single part of it and part of the journey is really special. So I know we're a ways away even from the World Cup and obviously a ways away from the Olympics, but this is still really exciting in itself. And
that kind of statement reflects a careful public image. She frames opportunities as privileges, talks about the dream of representing her country, and positions herself as someone focused on learning and improving. On a global stage with international media watching, that tone reinforces the perception of professionalism and humility. By maintaining that approach, Clark avoids becoming the center of the conflict surrounding the labor dispute. Instead, she appears as an athlete focused on performance while negotiations happen around her. Meanwhile, the WNBA itself stands at a critical crossroads. The league recently secured a massive new media rights deal reportedly worth billions of dollars. a sign that women's basketball is entering a new commercial era. But negotiations over how that revenue will be distributed between owners and players remain unresolved. If both sides fail to reach an agreement and a work stoppage occurs, the consequences could be significant. Fans might lose interest, sponsors could hesitate, and the momentum built over the last few years might slow down if a deal is reached. However, the league could enter the most successful period in its history, fueled by growing audiences, new investment, and emerging stars. At the center of all these discussions remains one undeniable fact. The popularity of women's basketball has surged dramatically, and players like Caitlin Clark are a major reason why. Whether the upcoming negotiations end in compromise or conflict, the sport is clearly undergoing a transformation. And now the big questions remain. Will the players' union follow through with the threat of a strike? Will ownership groups stand firm during negotiations? And how large will the global audience be when Clark officially